Everybody, welcome to episode 25 of the Silver Savage podcast. Today we have with us our friend, brother, and fellow entrepreneur Scott Weiner. Scott left a family business a few years back to follow and pursue his long life dream of wood making, woodworking, and social media. In this podcast, we discuss how he came about it and some advice he has, which coincidentally enough was not what I thought it would be, about what entrepreneurs should do when pursuing their dreams. Here's our chat with Scott Weiner.
Because you're going to see my hand moving the camera. Is that okay?
That's fine, yeah. Just show us your set, because we're going to talk about what it is that you do now. Oh, check that out.
This is like, Steve was here. He could be part of this. But he doesn't, Is he paying attention? He looks like he's...
I am.
I think he's just jealous.
Very cool. No, that was great. So... before we digress too much, I'll start by saying this is the second time we're recording this. First time we went all over the place. We just brought us to understand that we have a lot to talk with Scott Weiner, who's on the show with us today.
Sorry, I should come back to the show.
Yeah, you should stay here because you're the one we interviewed. You can't go anywhere. But yeah, don't make it again like the last time. But turns out we have a lot to talk and a lot of different topics, and we decided we're actually going to split it into at least two shows, just to not overwhelm our listeners. And just generally speaking, and I'll let you introduce yourself for a second, but obviously being Silver Savages and this all being for the warriors, you oftentimes ask me, it's like, how do I fit in? Am I a warrior? And I always tell you that in my mind you are, because aside from your woodcrafting, which we're going to talk about, the whole journey of becoming an entrepreneur and the morph that you did, that I think is a warrior in its own. And then obviously your background in EMS and the tactical medicine element as well. So today I think we're going to concentrate on where you are today. We're going to leave the EMS and the tactical side for a different conversation further down.
That works. I think we should spend the entire hour talking about when Steve's going to come and build something with me. I mean, I think we should spend there's probably prescription grade therapy tied in with that.
Funnily enough, we're going to be interviewing one on next week. So I'll certainly bring that up. But that's it, Scott Weiner. So Scott, you're my brother, man. You've been my brother.
It's good to see you guys. No, it's good to see you guys. Seriously, I'm just picking on Steve because I love him.
That's what we all do.
He's a huge talent. He's a huge hidden talent. He's a diamond in the rough. He's an amazing talent.
I mean, you know what? Thank you. I don't know what to say there.
I don't often hear Steve being speechless. But Scott, so give us a little bit of the background. You can go really quick about your EMS background. We're going to leave that separately. But on the professional side, how'd you get to what you're doing today?
Yeah, I mean, so first things first, I'm going to do a lot of this. I have a sinus infection. I don't have a coke habit. I just want to lay that out there.
Well, that's not as fun.
I know, right? So I just want to. I'm sorry, Steve.
We wouldn't judge you.
I mean, interestingly enough, I sold a bag of resin dye today, and I felt a little bit like a drug dealer because it's like this little baggie.
And it's so fine. That powder is so fine.
That's right. So right now, there's a guy that's snorting something purple.
There's so many jokes coming to mind.
Right. So what was the question? How I got to where I am?
Yeah, give our listeners a little bit of a background on you. Come on, Scott. Do I need to kind of guide you through everything? Let's go.
Dude, you know what? We've known each other a long time. I've never, hidden my ADD tendencies. They've just gotten worse after 50. That's the reality of it.
That is so true. So
my background is I worked with my family business since I was basically 12. And about 3.5 years ago, the timing was told to me that it was correct. It was time to get out and find something else to do.
So I'm going to fill in some voids here because...
Well, you told me to be quick. That was the problem.
No, you are quick, and it's not always a good thing, I suppose. But anyways, this is the thing. You were told that, it's time to move on, which is a thought you had anyways, but you did not expect that push to come as abruptly as it did, right? So
that's a fair statement.
Right. So how did you adapt?
I spent a lot of time sitting by myself a significant amount of soul searching. Went back to my roots a little bit. Did some volunteer work, which I still do, but did more volunteer work than I was used to doing. And I was already a woodworker. I mean, I was already a tinkerer. I was always building stuff. I grew up working with my hands. So, I was building stuff in my basement and giving it to friends, of which I think I've done your entire living room now.
Pretty much. I have a coffee table. I have a Scotch cabinet. And
you have some barware. That's right.
I do have some barware.
All right.
Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome. And so it just kind of morphed from there. I mean, I had an opportunity to move into an amazing shop space. I mean, I started looking for space because I had a commission build. People started wanting to pay me. The stuff I was starting to build was bigger than the room I had in my basement. And well, my family's amazingly supportive. I started getting there's sawdust even in the third floor bathroom. At that point, it became obvious that I needed to go and take my craft elsewhere. So I found a space out in Whitehall that it was cheaper to rent than it was to build on my property. I mean, that's really what it boiled down to. And it's just kind of morphed from there. It's not a
morph is an understatement. So let me say this. So seeing you over the past 3 years, going from your basement to the space and from leasing the space to buying the building, and really what I want to talk to you about, your woodworking is amazing. And I'm going to put some pictures in the video so people can see.
Yes, it is.
And we're going to put links to your social media. But really what I think you did really extraordinary is adopt to become a social media kind of guru. Like you doing the YouTube videos, becoming part of all these makers groups and really becoming an influencer in that. That is not what you foresaw yourself doing initially. You were going into this to make things out of wood. And then all of a sudden, now you have a big studio, which you're in right now. And, that took on a whole different spin. So tell us a little bit about that. How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to say morph because I was actually talking to my dad last week about it. And I think I'm running 5 different businesses now, 5 different business potentials, which is, yeah, I think that when we went out to lunch that one day and I said, hey, I kind of got kicked to the curb and told to go find something else to do. I don't think in a million years we would have thought that I'd have 5 separate entities that are, and they're all commingled, right? They've all kind of grown from one to the next. I think the secret to my success is really just letting go and following the universe. I mean, we joke about that sometimes, but it really is kind of that simple. It's finding opportunities and saying, okay, yeah, well, this looks fun. We're going to do this, and we're going to see, is it in the model? Is it in the niche? And if it's in the niche, then we're going to continue to push forward with it. Insanely chaotic, insanely destructive in some ways, but creative and fun all the same. So, I mean, the YouTube thing kind of started, as may rest in peace, when we lost, somebody who was close to both of us. And we decided to make that table for him for the firehouse. And I'm like, well, I'm going to video this for fun, so the family can see kind of what went on with building the table, and we'll give them the video. We'll throw it up on YouTube and just see what happens. And then it just kind of spiraled. And I mean, I appreciate you calling me a guru. I've only scratched the surface of that guru.
Which is scary to think. Yeah, it's scary to think where you're going to be, in a few months. Just continue, as you said, learning.
Right. I mean, I'm considered a small channel at this point. Still finding our way, finding direction and style and where we want to focus the efforts on as it pertains to being a content creator. I really don't like the word influencer.
Call it what you want, but the reality is that people are coming to you now and not the other way around, and that's really the big difference, right?
Yeah. It's I think influencer in my mind is such a. I like content creator because I'm creating content, and then in a lot of ways it's an art. So hopefully people are coming to learn and be inspired and so on and so forth. And if I'm influencing them to get at, my mantra is get in your shop and build something beautiful. And if I'm influencing them to do that, then that's cool. That's great. But to use the word influencer, I don't like to feel like I got that much power over people. That's
You
an
know,
uncomfortable space to be.
I don't think
You
that's a
know?
negative thing, and I don't think the two are necessarily disconnected of each other. I think you can be a content creator and an influencer, and influence can be very positive done correctly.
Correct, and that's the direction we're trying to go here. You know, we're building fun stuff. We're meeting fun people. We're we're growing. I mean, we're up. I guess it was last May, not this past May. What would that be? 21. I had 300 subscribers on YouTube, and we crossed 2765 today. And you know, the hours have continued to climb, and the beauty of that is it's all been organic. So it's just been kind of like a growing thing that continues to go on. You know, I'm not paying for ads or anything like that. I'm doing it the low and slow way. Just it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you know, learning along the way, taking a lot of classes, learning about how the algorithms work, how to create content, and how to put content out there that people want to see. Because I mean, we kind of joked about it. It was fun. You know, we made a table together. I put it up on YouTube. But how many people want to see middle-aged Jewish guys, you know, dancing to EDM on their YouTube channel? You know, I mean, I know you do, but
I think there's a market out there. I don't know. I mean,
there
there's a fetish
obviously
for
is a
everybody.
market. Yeah, right. You know, funny you should mention that, because every day I get a "hello, handsome," you know,
Let me ask
on
you
my
this.
Instagram feed. So yeah, it's been, you know, when you look at it from that perspective, it's been a hell of a ride, you know, and I'm definitely enjoying it. It's really weird now to walk into like the local Lowe's, or I went up to Woodcraft up in Harrisburg to buy a part, and I'm wearing my shirt, and they're like, "Oh, do you work with him?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work with him." They're like, "Wait a minute, you are him?" And I'm like,
Nice.
"Yeah, I'm him." You know, it's kind of an uncomfortably weird place to be, you know, but it's interesting.
Well, let me ask you this. I want to take it a step back. So you were how old when you left the family business?
Oh, dude, I don't know. What was I, 47,
46,
48,
47, something
47,
like that. Yeah.
something like that.
So let's say 47. So this is what I'm getting at. For most people, you know, mid to late 40s to come and say, I'm going to make a switch. And I've done one thing my whole life, and now I'm going to do something completely different. I want it. And actually, Phone Intensive Ever says Steve is finding himself in a very similar position coming up. He's about to hopefully retire one way or the other. And, you know, he has to kind of reinvent himself to a large extent. So that requires a lot of balls in my mind. It requires a lot of courage. But the other thing is there's a process that has to be involved. You already were doing some woodworking, and you said you did a lot of soul searching, but there's a lot more to that. Like for you to move on, what were some things that were going through your mind, and how did you kind of overcome some of the challenges?
I don't. I think if I'm looking back on it and I'm honest with myself right now, again, when you talk about the destructive side of it, it really is. You know, we've talked about this before in private. You know, it really is just literally getting inside yourself and introverting yourself and just focusing on every breath. You know, I created a piece of art that we've got hanging out in the gallery over there that says, what's it say? One breath, one step, one day adventure. You know what I mean? And that was kind of the mantra that went on to building this space. It was like just from breath to breath takes you to a step, which takes you to a day, which creates an adventure. And that scenario, you know, kind of legitimately throwing yourself to whatever deity you choose to believe in, the universe, or if you're that guy, ancient aliens, you know, because it's always aliens. Um, it's true. Let's be honest, right? But you know, throwing yourself out there in that scenario is probably, again, it's destructive in some ways, but hugely freeing and creative in others, right? And kind of, and when I say it's destructive for relationships because you're just head down. It's insanely
I got
chaotic.
pissed at you.
It's fair, you know, truth. It's but I don't bring it up for that. But I mean, it's even chaotic in a sense. In other words, I'm running 5 businesses right now, or 5 business potentials, and I have very little revenue coming in, but all of them have kind of snaked themselves in. I mean, to your point, I start making videos in my basement, and that's cool and that's fun. And I put the videos up, and people kind of like them. I don't have a huge following, but as part of that, I find myself in a makers group of friends that see that I have potential, so they want to support me and they want to help me. So they start helping me, and I start putting out more videos, and I'm not consistent, but then that kind of starts to grow, and you're like, oh, this is fun. I'm enjoying this, right? And you go down that road, and then all of a sudden you start building stuff where you're getting paid, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm getting paid. Well, that has its own sense of stress, right? It's one thing for me to make a mug and bring it to you and be like, hey, this has got like a little drippy thing on it. And you're like, I don't care. It's another thing when, you're actually, people are paying you for your stuff. And then, you go from that. Well, meanwhile, you're putting content up there and the channel's just kind of churning and starting to grow. And you're saying to yourself, well, I just passed the monetization limits. I can actually start getting some revenue from this, like some passive revenue. Okay, well, if I work harder, then I can, I got to get this threshold in order to do that. So you start putting out more content. Then you make more friends, and you get in a work group of people, and it goes from there. And then you get the commission bill that can't fit. So you go move into a building, right? Like, it's been this really organically weird thing. And I'm like, okay, well, then I'll move into a building. And then 9 months later, after I'm here, the landlord's like, hey, I've had enough. I can't make this work. Do you want to buy the building? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I guess. Sorry, can I say that on here?
You can say whatever you want, brother.
All right. So, you know what I mean? So now you're a landlord. So now you're a content creator, a woodworker, and a landlord, right?
And you have other tenants?
And we have other tenants, right? So then so now, now you're doing that. And then that starts to get into sponsorship opportunities on the YouTube. So now you become a brand ambassador, right? And so there's like all these things that are just kind of marching along if you're kind of following that linear flow. And that I think letting go and listening to that inner voice is probably the biggest challenge most people have. I mean, a lot of people ask me, how did I do it? And especially when it comes to finances and all that other stuff, because taking this leap is not easy for anybody. And I'm definitely blessed. I mean, I had some seed money to get started, but that in its own sense it's really funny. I was talking the other day to somebody about it. They're like, oh, well, you're so lucky. You had the seed money. You could get started. I couldn't do it. And I'm like, having the seed money is pretty dangerous, right? Because there's nobody to tell you no. I mean, if you fuck this shit up, like, you do it yourself, because there's no bank to tell you no. There's no, there's it's in here. You know what I mean? So just because you have the seed money financially to do it doesn't make it any less terrifying, right? Because the buck truly does stop here. Like, there's nobody that's telling you, hey, you're a 51-year-old guy. Do you really want to make content creation and buy buildings so people watching you can make money? You're like, hell yeah, I want to do that. But there's nobody to sit and go, whoa, dude, calm down, time out. Have you really thought about this? I haven't thought about it yet.
I love that. I didn't think about it. And I'll be honest, I can relate to some of it, although I didn't start in, my late 40s, but all our businesses have been pretty much organically growing, right? Start a self-defense school and start being contracted by police and so forth. So I can see how that going. I did not have seed money, but I didn't have a bank to loan me money either. So I just had to.
Well, it's the same thing, but I mean, I've had some people. The reason I bring it up is because in some ways it's a little bit safer for you when you decide you're going to do it because you planned for it. Do you know what I mean? Like you got the side hustle on the side, and you're going to do this, and then the side hustle grows, and you build yourself this customer base, and you're like, oh man, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. It's like two different sides of that coin. That's been pretty interesting. And the only reason I bring it up again is it's a good talking point for people that are in this position that have the seed money. They're sitting there going, oh, well, I got this money now. What do I do with it? Well, you better freaking think about it. Like, it's not just so simple as moving out and buying a building and doing all that other stuff. It really is it really has, it should be a calculated decision, and it should be something that you really think about. Don't be afraid of it, but you should at least give it the respect it deserves. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think that's a big thing that I guess a theme we saw among a lot of our guests is a lot of them were in transitional phases in their life from one career into the other, and that whole idea of, okay, I would say, and Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they fell into one of two categories. One of them, like you said, already had a side hustle, right? They already was doing something while they were doing their main job. And they're like, okay, we're just going to make that side hustle now our main thing. And other ones were like, I never really planned for this. I don't know. And now I'm kind of trying to figure things out, right? Because some of them can retire and live off retirement, but who wants to do that, right? You're mid-40s,
I
late
tried it
40s.
for 18 months. It sucked ass. Don't do it. Too
I'm
young
sure
for that.
would. No,
Yeah.
I don't intend on
Crazy.
ever retiring, but that's the idea, right? So let me ask you this, just kind of switching gears a little bit. So you shop. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the things that you're doing, because obviously we refer to the mugs and whatever, but I know you're making some phenomenal big pieces. What's your goal, and what are some of the pieces that you're trying to concentrate on making?
So yeah, I mean, goals. Wait, we have to have goals. I didn't get the memo.
I don't know.
So goals is pretty interesting. Our goals are really focused now on content creation, and there's a very big difference between being a content creator, and being a woodworker. And that sounds dumb. Let me rephrase that.
It doesn't sound like it. Funnily enough, that's what I was alluding to earlier when I said that you found yourself in that niche. That's where you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, when you start talking about building content and content that people want to watch, the positive is you can technically really build whatever you want as long as somebody wants to watch it. But it has to be calculated on when you release it and when you build it. So, the positive of that is, yeah, we make some pretty cool stuff around here. We're building this whiskey cabinet out of a whiskey barrel with 275-year-old burl material and resin from one of our sponsors. And, so we're going to show how to do that. We just picked up, excuse me, we just picked up a large body CNC from Phantom Systems, who is owned by a retired flight medic from North Carolina, who I've become friends with. Badass dude, and probably should have him on. He's a good guy to have on. So we're going to be doing a lot of large CNC work, which is something, again, never would have thought I would do, but that's a whole other side of the business that I never thought about. So we're doing that. It really is just trying to plan, even though we don't have a plan. And I know I'm round robbing it. We have a list this long of content. We have 36 different videos planned for the next year. And that's that. And they're everything from this table I'm sitting out that we release this Saturday. This video goes out this Saturday, to resin projects, to casting projects, to we have a gaming table we're building. We've got a 15-foot long conference table we're building. We've got more shop furniture we're building. We've got experimental stuff, because now that we own the building, now that I own the building, there's a ghost hunting group that wants to come in and look for ghosts. And I'm like, cool, can we video it? And they're like, you can video it. I'm like, I am getting dressed up in a Ghostbusters outfit. Absolutely. And I'm going to follow you around, and we're going to, so we've got what we call the experimental bucket, like things which you want to, just kind of do on the side that aren't in your niche. But all that has to kind of be planned out. And that has been, over the past 8 weeks that I've been taking a class, that's been kind of drilled in my head. And it's horribly uncomfortable and tough, because, you want to get the content out there that people want to watch. You want to enjoy making. At the end of the day, you want to have fun. If you're not having fun making the content, then it's not worth it. We're having a blast. But it's been, I look around here and I'm like, how the hell did this shit happen? Like, seriously, and I heard a boom on the other side, so there might be a ghost.
That's fine. So let me ask you this. So again, many entrepreneurs out there, including myself and Steve to a large extent, right? So what is one advice that you could give? And it can be, you got to go inside yourself and do this whole searching. One advice from a business standpoint that you would give. Because I want to point out that you don't only bring the entrepreneurship side in. Being in your family business, in the positions that you've held for so many years, you learned a lot of business lessons in the process. Mm-hmm. So, I started a business with zero business understanding. I was pure luck that I was able to succeed and grow, right? But if you had to give one advice to someone that's going into a business, what would it be? And what would be one mistake or one don't do that type thing?
That's a good question because I've been thinking about that lately. I think, I mean, if you find yourself in this position, I think that definitely the following the universe thing. If I mean, you say I can't say it. I agree that you shouldn't go inside yourself and disappear. But I do think that slowing down enough to look at the opportunities that the universe is presenting you, slowing your brain down long enough to say, wait a minute, this is happening for a reason. So what am I being presented with, and how am I going to capitalize on that, for not only my family's health, but my own mental health and my own growth, is a huge, huge thing. I think that would be number one. Number two would probably be the mistake is, like, for example, we just brought in a videographer this week. Like, her name's Leah. She's local. Met her at the coffee shop. You know, and you know, I'm almost afraid to spend that cash because I really don't have it. I mean, it sounds funny. We talk about seed money, right? But like, where do you spend your money? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's a huge for what we're doing in here. It's a huge push to hire somebody to do my social media postings and my videoing and my video editing. But the reality is, these projects that I was, we filmed this video in 2 days that would have taken me 2 weeks if I was videoing it myself, than the 16, 18 hours it would have taken me to actually edit it and get it out. And it's still going to look hacked because my journalism degree from 1993 isn't worth anything anymore, right? And so getting that team around you of unbiased, in a lot of ways, I don't mean to say this in a hurtful way, outsiders that have, like, you've got your internal people, we've already discussed that, right? But people that literally are looking at you from this far away from the outside that have zero interest in you whatsoever, getting that advice is I failed at that for a while because everybody wants to be part of I think when you do something like this, meaning not this, I mean what we're talking about, they come out, it's like winning the lottery. Everybody wants to be part of the adventure. Everybody wants to be part of the adventure. And especially if you're in the woodworking business, everybody wants to be part of the adventure. And, but being able to say no and like take that step back. And for a long time, I was like, yeah, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. And that was hugely distracting. And that's not to take away from the journey, right? Because having people visit and hang out is awesome. But setting those boundaries is definitely, when you're an entrepreneur and you're getting started, you need to have boundaries for those inside and those outside, right? Because the distractions are going to get you every time.
Yeah, Steve, we're gonna have to talk about boundaries later between you and I, because I just gotta be careful with how far you go sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think boundaries exist in our vocabulary.
No, but I mean, if you sit down and think about it, I mean, one of the interesting things that happens, when you move into a building, use my situation, right? You move in a building like this, it's 100 years old. It's been basically abandoned since 1986. There's been people in and out, but it hasn't really been used for everything. And then you go out there and you're stupid like I am, or we'll call it uncalculated, right? To put out on social media, hey, I'm here, and it's going to be a maker center, and it's going to be a mixed art center, and we're here to be part of the community, which is totally true. That's really at our core what I want to do. It was like the flood's coming, and this is the ark. I mean, people were just constantly showing up, which is great because they've embraced us in the community, and I guess that goes for any business, right? It's awesome to be embraced by your community in a positive sort of way. But I mean, we what did we were talking about it at one point, 8 different visitors in one day. That came out wrong. 8 different visitors showed up on a single day, unscheduled. How do you get anything done? Like that's a when you ask me about mistakes, that's a an interesting
Again, and
side of things.
knowing that story, and I remember when that happened, I know that was disruptive just because of where you were in the process. But for most businesses, when you tell them, okay, you're going to have 8 customers coming in, potential customers coming in unannounced, it's usually a good thing, right? But I
Well,
understand where
yeah.
you're coming from.
Yeah, no, they weren't customers. They were people that wanted to just kind of hang out and like, hey, let me check out the space. Let me do this. Let me
Gotcha.
do that. Yeah. No, I mean, having customers come in, that's having customers when you're ready for customers is definitely probably a tripping point. Because I did take on some jobs, and 6 months later, they're still not done, and I feel really bad about that. But that's my focus problems and everything. I'm following the universe, right? But I'm forgetting what's the path I already came through and the promises I already made. So that's definitely a good tripping point.
Yeah, certainly a balance has to be kept. And listen, I'm not belittling your following the universe mantra. I certainly feel that there's got to be a calling and there's got to be some sort of an attraction between what you want to do and where you're going. Um, I feel a lot of people use as an excuse, though. I know you don't, and I'm not pointing finger, but I know some people are like, "I've done what I've done because the universe told me so," and now I'm a hobo on the beach somewhere, and not doing anything.
I'm going to interject here and it's specifically because it's woodworking, right? My wife. Scott, I had no idea you were a fellow craftsman. I had no idea I was a craftsman. I would never consider myself a woodworker or an artist until I met guys like you and Turtle, who'll be on the show at another time, who we all mutually know because he's pretty much stabbed all our skins with ink. So we have that synonymous connection. But she bought me this book. It was called A Reverence for Wood, and I read it. It was a great book. And there's something when you say the universe, right? Um, uh, I'm a Christian, but I do like Shinto ideas. Where you respect the universe and what's in the universe, and we do have this symbiotic connection to the universe, and specifically wood, right? So much comes from wood. We have paper, so all these products, fuels, and stuff like that. But when you can take something, because it's alive, right, and you reclaim it, you repurpose it, you give it life again. There's something to it, and I think that's what makes maybe your business stand out as well. It's not your average business. It's like when I make a piece, as you would call it, or I usually, like I started out just giving it to friends. Like you, BK has some of my stuff in his office as well. My sister's bar, you'd be proud of this one. I don't know if you can see that shuffleboard table. That was one of my first shuffleboard tables.
So we've got some. I need some help. We've got some content planned to build one of those, but I don't want to say what it's going to look like yet.
Okay.
So I'm now hiring you as my apprentice for that because I need.
Awesome. I built 2, but we'll talk about that later.
And we're building a third one for our new space.
I love building I built domino tables and shuffleboard tables. But going back to what I was originally saying, you keep saying the universe, but you've built a connection through your process, through your product. And I hate calling it product because I don't see it as a product. My sisters give it a quaint term whenever I make something. They call it fart. All right. It's functional art. All right. And that's essentially what it is. Whether you're contracted to build a conference table, that conference table, although it's going to have coffee spilled on it, papers and pens, it's art. It was made by your hands and your staff's hands. It was a labor of love. It started with an idea and you brought it to life with a sustenance that is life. So there is a reverence to it. There is this universal connection to it. And I never really looked at it that way until I really, really started getting into woodwork.
But it's interesting. I mean, what Spiel's talking about is, somebody says I'm gonna follow the universe and I'm gonna become a hobo, in the end. Before I go on that tangent,
I'm just saying some people may, not everybody. I don't disagree with you on the following.
By the way, if you're making a shuffleboard table, that's a 10-foot long CNC. We can put Masada's logo right in the middle of it.
Boom! Drop the mic.
Anyway,
and this podcast is done. That's all I wanted to get to. That's it.
All right. But no, I mean, let's talk again. When I say follow the universe, let's talk about again. I'll kind of circle back to my journey. I'm making stuff in the basement, right? And then, be it because I had the courage, to pick up the phone and call a maker because I bought a set of plans from him and I was having problems with his plans, and there's actually mistakes on his plans. It was pretty funny. I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know the plans you sold have some mathematical errors on there. You know, and I know you're selling them, and that takes a huge amount of balls, right? And then he becomes my friend, right? So, excuse me, damn sinuses. So, you know, I go from that to, you know, building the stuff and then moving out into the space. And then that particular maker says, hey, we're having a makers meetup. Why don't you fly out to Denver for a week and we'll do something together? And I was like, I'm not going to Denver. There's no reason for to go to Denver. But I'm like, you know what? I have the opportunity. So screw it. I'm going to go to Denver. I got to Denver. I make all these contacts. And next thing you know, my YouTube channel's from 300 to 1,000 in a weekend. You know what I mean? So that continues to go. And then, you know, you take that and you fast forward and, you know, you move into the building and then you just happen to throw out there, hey, if you ever want to sell the building, let me know. You know, I may be interested. You throw it out in the universe and 6 months later, hey, I want to sell the building. Like, who would have thought that, you know? And then do I really want to go to a YouTubers conference about woodworking called Workbench Con? That's totally outside that is
What
totally
is it called?
Workbench Con.
Workbench Con.
And it was really interesting, right? And you know, I was like, do I really belong going to that conference? It's really uncomfortable for me, you know, to actually go and put myself out there amongst other creators and like big names. And you go out there and they're like, oh, hey, I know you. And you're like, you know who? Like what? Right? So you make other contacts. And my point is, you know, when you take that, you know, and then I go out and I meet the guy with the CNC and he's a brother and he's a warrior brother, right? So he's like, oh man, you know, definitely, I want to work with you. Can you make some content for us? And I'm like, sure. So, I mean, when I say following the universe, like they all kind of wave themselves through if you slow down enough to listen to it. And I never really believed it until I started doing it. And I mean, to put it in like, you know, Karen made some comment when she was casting stuff upstairs, and she made some comment about, you know, have you ever noticed how when you're feeling bad, because she believes in this, you know, that the right song comes on the radio? She's like, that's the universe. And I'm like, you're full of crap. You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, something like "Don't Stop Believing" comes on the radio, and you're feeling crappy about yourself, and you're like, either Siri's listening to me, which we know she is, or the universe is just saying, hey, time out. You needed a reboot. I mean, we can joke about hobos till the cows come home, but there's definitely something to it.
Dude, I'll be honest. If I can get away being a hobo, I'll probably go for it.
There's some truth, you know. I mean, Steve, you agree, right? I mean, if you know, if you sat down and you really thought about those opportunities, you know.
And it's not just like thinking about it. I think what it is too is, I apologize for the chaotic sounds in the backgrounds, but my nephews and kids are high on sugar. But when you really think about it, it's not just that right moment of something coming on and whatnot. I think it's kind of like you guys mentioned earlier before, right? The subconscious, right? I'm a big Carl Jung fan. I've read his books, Psychology of the Unconscious, you know, learning about your shadow and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Right? That's a whole nother topic and a whole bottle of whiskey. But I think when we listen the right way and tune out the right things, we hear what we need to hear. And I think that's the biggest factor. And you'll hear that religiously speaking, you know, turn off the world and listen to God, you know, whatever it may be, whatever God you're talking about. But if you can actually control your chaos, you know, because we all have a chaos, and, you know, dial those knobs just right.
Your nephews sound like dogs. I'm just saying.
Well, there's a giant mastiff that stands 7 foot tall, trooper, who tries to eat me every day because I'm like his favorite chew toy, and 2 other crazy dogs. But besides the point, like I said, so like when you can find that fine tuning and dial yourself in, you'll tune out the wrong noises and be able to hear the right noises. You know,
yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, because you know it's easy to be skeptical, like, oh yeah, the perfect song came on, you know, Nirvana popped on right when I needed it to, or whatever it may be, or you know. But I think it's more of when we get in touch, you know, like you said, kind of go into yourself. But you do have to go into yourself, and I say Carl Jung because I like Carl Jung. He was very open and universal. But he says it. You have to address your shadows. You have to address that chaos inside of you and learn to make it work for you. You know, and when you fine tune yourself to that specific dial, you know, the static is gone. and that's that quote unquote perfect song.
And you're
So,
kind of on cruise control at that point.
yes.
Yeah, it sounds hokey. I believe it. I wouldn't have believed it. I mean, it definitely sounds hokey.
It is hokey, but
It's total. It's totally hokey. I mean,
but it's not. Again, like I mentioned before, and I told BK this. There's a significance when you can tune yourself into the universe, right? And when I say that, I mean everything, from the animals to the insects to the birds. I got more respect for insects and animals than I do for humans sometimes. And I told BK, the significance of cicadas and certain animals and certain birds, when you can appreciate their existence and their ability to be near you, because they don't like humans. Animals, primalistically speaking, are going to preserve their self nature. They're going to avoid us because they know we're destructive. But when you can get certain insects and or animals that kind of come close to you, near you, I think that's significant. And being of Native American roots, I've kind of looked into that as well. That nature as well. So it's hokey, yes, definitely something to it though.
No, there's definitely something to it.
BK wants to say something. I can see him biting his lip. I know he wants to interject. He's pulling on that beard like.
Yeah. I don't disagree with anything that you guys are saying. I mean, Stephen, you and I had a lot of conversations
every
about
time you
it.
call me Stephen, like my hair stand up because
your mom is in the house.
That's true. I should bring on this podcast. It'd be hilarious.
We so should. But anyway, so what I'm saying is,
I'll call it right now.
You and I had this conversation in the past, and I'm a big believer on the law of attraction type thing, and so forth. But I don't believe that we just make things out of nothing. But I do believe, like you said, that all of a sudden we start noticing the things that we need or want to notice and so forth. So the reason I'm smiling is because, you come into this podcast with a certain kind of idea. This is what we're going to be talking about. And this is where it's going to go. And then it goes on a completely different tangent, which is awesome.
Yeah, we go down a rabbit hole.
Right. Because honestly,
I think this is in line. This is in line with the entrepreneur. I mean, we could take everything that we said and then we could call it the entrepreneurial spirit. I mean,
100%.
I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott. No, go ahead. This is all about you.
Scissors. Who's going? Rock, paper, scissors. Already
no,
on three. Everybody throw.
No, I believe you agree 100%, Mr. Spock. But the idea
he was a Cohen. Did you know that? He was a Cohen.
Yeah, I did know that.
And that's where this came from. This is where it came from because he was a Cohen.
I did know that. And I also listened to the Hanukkah song where Captain Kirk and spoke of both Jewish. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
here we go. Another rabbit
hole. not a rabbit hole. No, but what I'm saying is the reality is that I think that the ability to recognize opportunities certainly lines up with entrepreneurship and being able to seize those opportunities and ignore the noise that masking those opportunities. That's all important. I would honestly say that if I ask anybody else other than Scott Weiner, what would be your first advice to an entrepreneur? It probably would be something different. But I love the fact that he went there because I think that's a great point, and I think one that's often overlooked. And Steve and Scott, both of you know me, and I've been running my business for the past 15 years, and a lot of it has to do with feelings. This feels right. This does not feel right. And that's how that all,
And I've learned from both of you guys, and BK, I've been your consigliere many times and said, you probably shouldn't do this or blah, blah, blah. I've yet to, I guess I kind of did, but I learned my lesson, breach that entrepreneurial, status. But, I'll just ride on your guys' coattails for now.
No, you're an entrepreneur in your own mind. But let me ask you this, so Scott, because I know we're coming towards the end. What are some I want to say plans, but I know you don't like that word. So what are some things that you're working on right now? Like what's in for the Crafty Weiner for the next 6 months to a year?
No. So it's funny that as part of what I'm doing right now.
I just wanted to say Crafty Weiner one more time. Sorry, go ahead.
You have a T-shirt too.
I do have a T-shirt, and I wear it whenever I walk on wood, which I've been doing a lot more.
I want a Weiner T-shirt. Just saying.
You can come out here and pick it up, and I'll happily give it to you.
Oh, I can pick up your Weiner? Yes. I love it. All right, go ahead.
No, but one of the things I've been tasked with is actually coming up with a plan, and I actually had a hard time with that as part of my accountability coach as part of this program I was in. And I said, you don't understand. I've been following the universe and there is no plan. I'm like Heath Ledger in the Joker. I'm like, do I look like a guy who's got a plan? Like, seriously. I mean, that's the way I've been living my life. And I said, so to sit here and tell you 3 years from now, I want to have, and like vomit out this plan. And so, yeah, so it's pretty interesting when you actually do a plan, at least gives you something to work towards. So, my 3-month plan was to start hiring a team. So I did that I had that done in 6 weeks. The 6-month plan was to be more consistent with content, to get content out, because we're really on that cusp of monetizing the channel. And when you monetize the channel, then the algorithm picks you up more, and it's passive income coming into the shop, which allows you to make more fun content and meet people and influence and inspire and so on and so forth. So 6 months, the plan is to be more consistent. Well, we're on month 2 out of that 6-month plan, and we filmed 2 projects this week. I've never done that before. You know what I mean? So the year plan is to hit 100,000 subscribers. And they really want me to come up with a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan. I'm having a hard time. That's going to be. I'm still working on that plan. So it's going to be a lot of focus on content, getting stuff out, learning that, because it keeps it fun and fresh and new. I mean, I can make mugs all day long, and if anybody wants a mug, I'll make them a mug. It doesn't bother me. I'm selling the mugs. It's fine. I'm not comfortable being keyholed into making 400 mugs a day. That's not the artist I want to be. I don't have to be, and I don't want to be, if that makes sense. Like Steve said, listening to that whisper, right? What do I really want to do? So is that the right answer? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Without going
that
down the
was
rabbit
very
hole?
cool. Because I'm gonna hold you onto it. I'm gonna ask you in a year if you got your 100,000 followers. And
Oh, you'll know if I hit 100,000 followers. Yeah, I mean, we threw some stuff out there. I mean, we said at 5,000 we were going to do a giveaway. It might be on this video. I said I would sing like a Disney princess at 50,000 or something like that.
I've heard you done that before, so
right. And at 100,000, the 100,000 subscriber, people can help me with the 100,000 subscriber. When we hit that, I've promised to make a life-size. Steve will appreciate this. You'll be like, whatever, it doesn't mean anything. My friend, my good friend James made you'll love this, Steve. He made a woodworking vise completely out of exotic woods. And so I said, well, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'll build a life-size one, and everything's made out of wood, and then we'll donate it to the Visual Arts Museum in downtown Baltimore. Right,
that's pretty amazing. That's pretty cool.
Like big enough to actually like squeeze Steve in it. Like everything's made out of wood. And they said they'd fly out and help me. So I threw out there in a year that I was going to have those 100,000. I'm a little terrified at that because I got to make the Vice then. I'm actually more terrified of making the Vice than I am of singing like a Disney princess, which is kind of weird. I think.
No, not at all.
Steve's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, Steve is about to start working on the Vice.
Well, I will subscribe to your YouTube channel today. I had no idea there was one going, so it'll be whatever +1 today. And I'll be following, and I will be more than happy to be an apprentice under you and do some shuffleboard tables, domino tables. I make some really cool Caribbean-themed domino tables. So whatever you need. But you got to ask him for his permission first. He's my pimp. You know how that works.
You know where I am. I mean, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I own the building now, so I actually have to show up here now, right?
Perfect. Scott, we're going to spare you the hot seat today just because I'm going to actually edit it from the last video that we took. So you already been through it. So
I'm already,
But just to put it out there, though, when we have you again to talk about, because I really want to talk, we had some phenomenal discussion about the state of EMS and where's that going and tactical medicine. So I want to have that discussion again.
Oh yeah, I think we need to let that rest until they fire the police chief in Uvalde, and then we can talk about it.
Okay, yeah, and that's a sensitive topic, but I will just leave it at. I kind of agree with you there, Scott.
That is just a horrifying. I can't even. You know what?
Let's not go down this rabbit hole. We're not going down this.
No, because you know what? Everybody we talk to says the same thing. If I was there, we weren't there.
Yeah. We're going to save this one. We're going to save this one until we get more information because we were not there. And one
I
thing I
agree
do
with
hate
you.
is the quarterbacking.
Yeah, no, that's why I said we should wait. That was my tongue-in-cheek way of saying, why don't we wait till it all comes out?
But from what we've heard so far, I think we're on the same page.
Scott,
I don't
thank
even know
you.
what to say.
Thank you so much for joining us again.
Yes.
Can't wait to have you for the third time. And good luck with the
Is
content creation.
that
And let me
something
know for
that
those
somebody
shuffleboard
writes on a
tables.
bathroom wall? Can't wait to have you a third time. What?
Let me know for those shuffleboard tables. I would love to work with you on those projects.
Yeah, no, we're gonna
Oh.
get that. Call me. We'll talk about it.
Sorry, because I'm not as savvy in content creator, and this whole podcasting is still fairly new. I did not want to forget. If people want to get a hold of you, want to follow you, can you name up your social media, you know, all the channels that they can find you on?
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook. We're just starting with TikTok, which I hate. I shouldn't say I hate it. That's not right. I just don't understand it because I'm 51 years old. I don't get it. And YouTube, all under the Crafty Weiner. It's all in
One
the same
word?
brand. So,
Or one word, no underscores, anything?
well, I knew you'd ask that. I think there's underscores for Instagram and one word for Facebook, and YouTube. You can either find it under the Crafty Weiner or under Scott Weiner, one or the other. It'll show up.
Perfect. We'll make sure we put all of that in the episode notes also, so if people want to look, I'll do the research and I'll make sure I put the right one down. All right, Scott, thank you so much.
I wish I could. I should have probably written that down before. You called me a guru, and I showed up without any of my links. What sort of guru is that?
Well, a guru in training. All right.
Love you guys.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you, guys.
See you guys later. Yep. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Silver Savage podcast. Please go ahead and give our podcast a like, share the link with a friend, and help us spread the word. You can follow us on social media as well. Instagram handle is silver_savage45. You can also find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and our YouTube channel where you can watch all these episodes videos as well. More unique content, merchandising, and events are coming soon too, so make sure to follow.